Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here for you, where sports meets life. I am picture in picture with 50% of this American Athletic Championship game coming up here. So the SMU Mustangs will take on the Tulane Green Wave coming up here this upcoming weekend. And I am always pleased to speak with SMU Mustangs head football coach Rhett Lashlee. Rhett, how are you?
Hey, Dan, doing good. Getting ready for a weekend and excited to be playing in the game.
Absolutely. And having this opportunity that you have to be in this game, I mean, it's obviously to this season, you're playing for a championship, you're playing for the opportunity to, obviously put yourself in good positioning from here, but you're also playing in the final championship you'll ever play in the American Athletic Conference as you get set for the ACC. Do you think about that at all, that, hey, if we're going to have one last ride, let's have it in the championship game?
You're human, so at times certain thoughts like that go through your head. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're pretty focused in on staying present and what you need to do to try to be successful. It's hard, to do it throughout the year because we want to play well. But yeah, SMU is a founding member of the league. Our president, Dr. Turner, had a lot to do with the league coming together, and I know our relationship with Mike Oresco has been great, and we've enjoyed being a part of the league. It's a great league. So it is nice to make it to the championship game, before we leave the league. And, I think in a year where there was some really good teams, especially the four at the top. And, the way Tulane has played last year and this year, and really over the last decade, there's been some really good SMU Tulane games in the regular season. So I think it just we're excited to be there. It means a lot to our program moving forward to get to this point.
Yeah, and you look at this place that you're in. I mean, you went 8-0 in the conference, and so did Tulane, and a better overall record for Tulane at 11-1, and you at 10-2 overall. I mean, not only are you in the championship, but there was a chance that this was going to be played in Dallas. So just what you could say about the fact that the two teams playing for the right to say they're AAC champions are undefeated in the conference.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. You went in the last week of the season, and us, UTSA and Tulane were all 7-0. And, if we hadn't played Memphis the week before, they probably still would have been. And so it kind of worked out good for the league to almost have like two semifinal games down the stretch. And, look, we both went undefeated in the league. We didn't get to play each other in the regular season. We played two power schools on the road. They played one. But they won the league last year. They're the defending champs. The college football playoff rankings had them ahead of us, so they get to host, and I don't have a problem with that. And, it just adds to the challenge. We're excited to go down there. It sounds like it'll be a packed house, and we're able to go 4-0 on the road in the league this year, and we got to find a way to win one more.
Yeah, and when you look at the fact that, being in this league and how competitive this league has been over the years, this was, and something you and I spoke about, a unique situation as a founding member of the American Athletic Conference, like you mentioned, that SMU is. You have seen this change. And so Cincinnati's out, UCF's out, Houston's out, and 6 new teams come in. And on your schedule, you're challenged by playing these teams that you're not used to playing every single year. So as much as you have conference and non-conference games, some of your conference games felt like non-conference games, I'd sure at times. When you're playing North Texas, you're playing Rice, you're having Charlotte as well. So there is that kind of weird feel in the American that there's more than 4 non-conference games, so to speak, in this transitionary period. So how did you go through that, kind of having to spend more of your schedule against teams that you don't know and coaching schemes that you don't know?
Yeah, you just kind of take it week to week, like if you've just gotten to a new job, and everybody on your schedule, you're learning the league. To your point, of our 8 conference games, I think Memphis is the only team we played that was the same team with the same head coach that we had last year. A couple teams we played, like Navy and Tulsa, that were on our schedule last year, had new head coaches and changes. And so, but that was also worked both ways, except for with Navy, because they were very familiar with what we do. I think they had to prepare for us too as a first-time opponent too. So it kind of goes both ways.
We look at the college football playoff rankings, the fact of, like you said, Tulane's ranked higher than you, but to have some respect for the American Athletic Conference, to have Tulane be within this, to have SMU be within it as well. Is it good enough? Is it fair enough that there are teams that have 3 losses. There's teams that have 4 losses that are given more respect by the college football playoff committee than the SMUs and the Tulanes of the world. I mean, it seems like in the 20s is not good enough for you in Tulane.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the committee's going to make the decisions they make. I think the problem probably everybody has is there's just a lack of consistency on how everybody's being measured. Look, I got a lot of respect for all the teams they ranked. I mean, there's some really good 8-4 teams in the SEC or the ACC, and I get it. But the Big 12. But I mean, on one hand, and look, I ranked in the coaches poll. I ranked Liberty. I ranked JMU. I think they're good football teams. I didn't rank them ahead of us or Tulane because they don't play in our league, and it's not even close how much better the American is than Conference USA and the Sun Belt. They also, if you're in Liberty's case, they didn't even play a power school all year. You're arguably the worst strength of schedule in the country. We went on the road to OU, and it was a 3-point game in the fourth quarter. We went on the road to defending national runner-ups. Tulane played Ole Miss at home. But Liberty gets ranked, which I think they should be ranked. They're undefeated ahead of, say, Kansas State, because we got to give merit to the fact that they're undefeated. But yet us and Tulane, we're undefeated in a better league than they're in, and we play better teams out of conference. There's just inconsistencies. I think anybody would tell you that those teams that go 12-0, 11-1, 10-2 in other leagues, like the ones I mentioned, the Troy, the Toledo, they're great teams. They should be ranked. But they shouldn't be ranked ahead of Tulane, and they shouldn't be ranked ahead of SMU. If we're, 10-2, 11-1, 8-0 in our league, we went out and scheduled good opponents, went on the road. We're very competitive, had opportunities to win, and those other schools didn't do it. We've proven that if you put us in one of those games, whoever wins our game, we're going to compete, and the other ones just haven't put themselves in that position.
Well, and I want to go to your point here with Rhett Lashlee, the head coach of the SMU Mustangs football program, as we get set for the American Athletic Championship game. It seems as if, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's just what I've taken over the years, but it seems as if in the AP and in the coaches poll, there is a setup in the preseason. There's essentially an unfair advantage to certain teams, certain conferences that are placed in the top 10. They're placed there, and if they win out, they don't move. They're ranked 2 or 3, ranked 4, and as long as they win and they go 12-0, then they stay there because that's where they were set up to be. There's teams that have lost 3 games and won't fall out of the top 20. So when you look at kind of it almost feels like the fix is in type of thing, where in the preseason, this is where they are. They're not really playing a tough schedule. They're not playing any ranked teams. They're not playing ranked teams in conference. They're not playing ranked teams out of conference. And at the end of the season, if they go undefeated, they're right where they were put by committees prior to. What can we do with that? How can we change that for the better? Because I can't help but realize, and in the COVID year, it was probably the most egregious, that the Big Ten didn't play for the first, 6 weeks, and they put them into the top 25, ranked them in the top 10, ranked some in the top 5, in the top 25, and they were going up spots at 0-0 over teams that had played that week when they had still yet to play a game. I remember Michigan went up 4 spots and they hadn't played anybody, and I think they jumped UCF, who was in the American at the time, who had played. So how do we tackle the issue of some conferences and schools are set up to succeed, and there's an excuse kind of planted in there for them, where an SMU is never set up to succeed, and typically there are no excuses for you when something happens?
I think the solution is easy, but never going to happen. I mean, because let's call it like it is. There's too much excitement about college football. It's the good and the bad. Like, the great thing about our game is there's so many people that love our game, and the TV networks, they promote our game in such a great way that they have to have preseason polls, because they want to be able to say the week 1 matchups between number 2 and number 7 or whatever it is. Yeah. And for whatever reason, there's humans involved. And when there's humans involved, there's bias involved, whether you mean to or not. Like, brands get more credibility than other brands just because we're humans. Like, it doesn't even mean people, the fix may not be in. It's just there's human bias that is not going to go away if you don't change it. And so the only right way to do it is to not have any polls until like week 8, just like the CFP does. And there shouldn't be an AP, and there shouldn't be an ESPN, or a coach's poll, because at least not till at least week 4. Like, let's play the non-conference and then start the polls or something, like, because to your point, nobody really knows who to rank. It's all based on projection and open. That's why you always have a team that starts here in the top 10 and falls out, and everybody says they were a big disappointment. Well, maybe they weren't.
Yeah.
That was unfair to them. And then there's a team that starts out of the polls and they have to win at a different level to get all the way up to the top. And no one starts at the same spot. And to your point, the brands with the traditional biases are always going to start ranked higher. They're going to be in the top 25 just because people assume they're supposed to be good. But we're not going to do that. There's just too much excitement and buzz around our game.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I agree if there was a change to wait weeks until you start to rank anybody, because the preseason just seems to kind of create that setup for success for some teams and failure for others. The 2 losses that you have this season at SMU come against Oklahoma and TCU. You played both of those games on the road, challenged yourself against the Big 12. I would love to get the positives that you took away from those games that helped to set your team up for the American athletic play, as well as just conference, play in general this season.
Yeah, I think the Oklahoma game, week 2, really gave our team a lot of confidence. We were really disappointed we lost because we felt like we had our opportunities to win. But I think we came out of that game with 2 things. One, we knew we had a real defense this year. It was 14-11 with 12 minutes to go. And if you turn on the film and watch the first 30 plays of that game, our defensive line absolutely whipped OU up front. And, we looked the same in warmups. You go, wow, we belong on this field. Our guys played like they belong. And after the game, they were really ticked off that we didn't find a way to win. The way the game went, having to go for a few 4th downs, it made the score look different. But we're like, man, we belong with what is right now a top 12 team on the road in that environment. And our quarterback in his second career start played really well. The moment wasn't too much for him.
Yeah.
I think then you go to the TCU game, you give them credit for winning. That was by far and away the worst game we played all year. And I think what we did, we came out of that game. Again, it was 14-10 at half. It was tight in the 4th quarter. And again, the score's a little different because you got to go for it on your own 30 a few times. But I think what we came out of that, we understood after that game, okay, this is who we are on offense. Our defense had been pretty good. Offensively, we're moving the ball, but we weren't scoring points. And we learned what our identity is. We built it around what Preston did well. We figured out what our run game was and how to, we have a lot of good playmakers, but it's hard to get them all the ball. And I think we were able to find kind of our identity. And it usually takes 2, 3, 4 games in a new season with a new quarterback, in my experience, to really hone in on what that is. And we did. And I think that's why you start our run game took off and Preston just got better and better each week.
Do you have a better defense in your offense or better offense than your defense? Because we know you can score, but we also know that you can hold teams down.
I think it goes back to the bias. People assume offense, you start looking at all conference teams. And we have the best defense in the league in like every category. And we had 1 player make the first team all conference on defense. We had 4 on offense. Well, I don't think that's exactly accurate. I do think our offense has started playing at a real high level, very balanced. Obviously, we lost Preston, so we're going to have to continue to do that with Kevin. But I just think what the defense has done this year has been special, and that's been the difference. And I think the best thing I can say about our team is we're a true team. And so you really can't compare them. I mean, we finished statistically with the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in the league and both top 15 in the country. But that's a big deal here because we haven't played defense like that in a long time. But, we've won games different ways. We beat East Carolina because our defense held the line when our offense had a really bad night. And we found a way to win 31-10, but it was close. You flip to the Memphis game, our offense started clicking because they're good on offense. And so we've done a good job playing team ball, playing for each other. And I don't think one could be better than the other.
You just spoke about losing Preston Stone, having to lean on Kevin Jennings. Obviously this season, seeing Preston get better and better at the quarterback position, he's also gotten involved in the run. How has the team dealt with that? How has the offense dealt with getting around, Kevin Jennings and this changing of the guard, so to speak? Just what you could say, because here we are in crunch time. We're in the AAC Championship. There's going to be a good bowl game, hopefully, for SMU coming from here. So how do you go through that transition at a time where, at any point in the season, it's difficult, but
Yeah.
it's a really hard thing for Preston knowing that he was here all the way till the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Really disappointed for Preston just because, like I said, he got better and better each week, was playing really, really good these last 2 weeks. You know, we're disappointed for him, but he did a ton to get us here. It's unfortunate he won't be able to push us across the finish line in terms of on the field. He'll be with us. But our guys, man, like I said, it's been a team all year, and they haven't batted an eye. We showed up Sunday and then Monday morning with our meetings, and we went to work like we have every other 12 weeks this year. Because I think our guys believe in two things. One, I think they believe in this team. They believe in that not one player has to win for this team to win. That's kind of been our secret sauce or special weapon all year. And they believe in Kevin. I mean, Kevin has been in some high leverage moments in the 2 or 3, 4 games he's gotten into his career so far, last year and this year. He hadn't started a game like this here yet, but when he's gone in, he's performed well. The moment's not too big for him. They know the talent he has because he's the one that goes against our one defense all the time, in practice. And he just has to go be Kevin. He doesn't have to win the game for us. He just has to go be Kevin and play. We don't have to change who we are. We don't have to protect him. We're going to go play to win. We're going to be aggressive and do what we do and trust him and trust all the guys around him. So I don't know. We'll see if it's good enough Saturday, but I don't think our guys' confidence level has dropped a bit.
Few more pieces before I let you go. SMU Mustangs head football coach Rhett Lashlee going into the AAC Championship game. Looking at the other side, you haven't played the Tulane Green Wave this season. This will be your first game against them, and it will be the championship game. What are you seeing on film from Tulane offense, defense, special teams?
Very, very similar to last year's team. They're different coordinators, so there's a little difference. But, when you start on offense, Michael Pratt's just a really efficient player. He doesn't beat them. He doesn't turn it over. He gets them in the right play calls. They run the ball a lot. And so it puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback to be efficient when they do throw it. And they like to throw it down the field to some weapons they have. And he's really efficient when they do it. And he just knows how to win. When games are tight late in the game, he makes plays with his feet. He can run, he can throw, he can do it all. Similar to last year, they can run the football well. They got a freshman instead of Spears, but it's very, very similar. And they still got the same playmakers. When it comes to teams, they're a good unit on special teams, very well coached, specifically their kickoff unit, kickoff return unit. And then you look at their defense. I don't know, they might be better than they were a year ago. I know they lost their 2 linebackers who were great players, but the majority of the D-line's back. A lot of the secondary's back. They brought in some pieces to fill those holes. Similar scheme, a little more odd front than they were a year ago, but a lot of cover 3. They don't give up explosive plays, and they stop the run as good as anybody in the country. I mean, they're top 5 in the country, giving up 60-something yards a game rushing. They do a good job making you one-dimensional, creating turnovers. You look at the UTSA game, I don't know that UTSA maybe didn't outplay them, but they turned it over 5 times.
Yeah.
And, I think the biggest thing you say about Willie and his team the last 2 years is they know how to win and close out games, and they don't beat themselves, which so many great teams do. Because the majority of teams, probably 80% of the teams in college football, if you don't beat yourself, they're going to beat themselves. And so you have to play really well. You have to go beat them. They're not going to give you the game. And I think that's what makes them really tough to beat.
If this was the expanded college football playoff this season, would the winner of this game, in your opinion, be in the college football playoff? I mean, if we were expanded to 12, they said it was going to be the top 6 conference champions and then 6 at large. We know the Pac-12 doesn't really exist anymore, but in an expanded playoff, are we seeing Tulane or SMU?
Yeah, you have to. It really shouldn't be a debate. And I mean, again, I mean that with respect to the other teams, because there's some really good teams in those other leagues. But if you look at the data and the metrics, it's not even close, from strength of schedule to who you've played, where you've played, the quality of the conference. And you look at who us and Tulane have played, who we beat, how we beat them, how our offenses and defense have played. I mean, look, we got to worry about winning the game, or it doesn't matter. So, but whoever wins this game in an expanded playoff should be in, and whoever wins this game should be in the New Year's Six. And it really shouldn't even be the discussion that for some reason it is. And hopefully the committee will get that right, because it'd be a shame to go out the last year of the 14 playoff and the New Year's Six and not get it right when it's so obvious both to the metrics and the eye test. And I think, we don't want to set that precedent going into that 12-team playoff either. Without question, whoever wins this game would be in my opinion.
And a final note here, as you get set for this, and we had spoken about it before, but this is the last game that SMU will play in the American Athletic Conference. This is a way of saying goodbye after being a founding member. How would you like, I know obviously you want to get the victory, but beyond that, how do you want these, this moment to play out, these hours to play out, this final game? Because someone's going to win, somebody's going to lose, but SMU, this is the last time that your guys will have the A on their jerseys before it changes to ACC.
Yeah. Well, I want our program to handle it with class, like I think we have our whole time in the league. We're so grateful to the American. Our time has been fantastic, and I know from our president, Dr. Turner, and our AD, Rick Hart, and all of our coaches, like, we wanted to make sure that we handled ourselves the right way this year once the news broke. A year or two ago, when the other three schools that were leaving for the Big 12, the news got announced, they rubbed a lot of us the wrong way, the way they handled it. They instantly were kind of derogatory towards our league and just didn't handle it with a lot of humility and class, we didn't think. And we wanted to make sure that we do that, because we're so grateful to the American. It's been an incredible experience. It's bittersweet because I think it's a fantastic league with great leadership. And I think they've treated us great this year. It's kind of weird when you get to that moment. Everyone knows you're leaving, but you're still in the league. And I think from Mike Oresco to Jamie Hickson to Brian Platt and everybody, it's been really good. So I just hope it's a great game. I think it's two great teams. I mean, you couldn't ask for better. 11-1, 10-2, 8-0, 8-0 in your conference championship game, where the winner should be going on to a New Year's Six bowl. I just hope that the game's a great game. I hope we handle it with the class that we should, win or lose. And I hope that as we leave, the American knows how appreciative we are to them, and I hope they're appreciative of what we brought to the league too.
Well, you and I talked going into the season, we talked during the season, and now we're talking on the end portion here as you get set for the AAC Championship and then move on to a New Year's Six bowl game. Hopefully that is a well earned. But all I could say to you, Rhett, is number one, I respect you as a human being more than anything else. I love covering this team, and I will see you in the ACC. So you're not getting rid of me, Rhett.
Thanks, Dan. Hey, I always appreciate being on the show, and thanks for what you do for our game.
Absolutely. And I hope, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and everything that is to come.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to you too.
Thank you, sir.